So I was inspired to sign up for iPEC's coaching because I talked to a girlfriend who was a coach. She was living in the East Coast, and she said to me that she thought I would be a great coach. And so I started looking into it. She told me the place that you take all your coaching classes really doesn't matter. To become a coach, you really just need to be certified, and that's enough. And as I started looking into it and talking to more people and looking for a specific date that I could travel, reading some of the reviews about some of the coaching classes, watching some of these videos actually, and seeing what people had to say about different coaching. I chose iPEC not only for the date that happened to work perfectly for me, even though it wasn't in my city. I live in Los Angeles, and so I was willing to travel to San Francisco. But because consistently everybody who I had talked to said it was a great program. And once I got in, and I had the flexibility at that point to sign up just for LPT, so the first long weekend before I made a decision whether I wanted to be a coach. And with that flexibility, I walked in the room and knew the second I had my first interaction that not only was coaching going to be the perfect job for me, but that iPEC was really the right place to be. And in addition to that, after meeting all these people at the first LPT session who had done so much research, many of whom had been to other coaching programs before and had ended up at iPEC, it made me feel so good about where I was. So I knew, serendipity played a role. So iPEC's training is not only just about coaching. It's about changing your life along the way. And I would say that from that first moment I walked in the door to where I am today, which is a little longer than a year ago. So I started in July of 2014, and I'm taping this now in September of 2015. And my life has been transformed. I show up differently. When I'm interacting with people, I feel like the gifts that were given to me from when I was a small child, I now get to use. I get to make money doing what I naturally did anyway. And now I have a title and I have a lot of training. And I feel like I am walking the path I was supposed to walk. And I've done a lot of different jobs. So this is really just a very joyful place for me. Takeaways are something that happen all the time in this training. At LPT, you are then set up with one-on-one coaches that you coach somebody in your class and then they coach you. And I think that I had gone through LPT. I felt like the information was really familiar. On my second coaching session where somebody was coaching me, the president of the company, Luke, sent off an email. He had a conference. He sent off an email, something, so that he said, feel free to send me questions. And at that point, I was really confused. I felt like the person that was coaching me was all wrong. It wasn't what I imagined coaching to be. And what happened was, in one comment, I felt that it was, again, transformational. Luke said to me, what can you get out of this interaction? Why do you think this is who you're with? And with that one comment, I think my whole view changed. So that was huge. I think we work on what our deep gremlins are and what the message is to each of us is unique. why we're not allowing ourselves to move forward. And the process of working on that really deep core gremlin was really profound. And I think that the acknowledgement that each stage, despite how much you want to speed right through this, I think what I really learned from this process was iPEC takes the time that you need to not only digest and grow, but to really absorb the process so that by the time you're done, you feel empowered to move forward. And that starts on your first day at that LPT. My life is very different from when I began in this program. I began with iPEC in our first LPT in July of 2014 when our second child left for college. So I was looking at what I wanted to do with more time with only one child at home. And I entered coaching not knowing that it would be a profession. Halfway through, you're asked to choose a specialty, a niche. And there are some niches that just come so naturally to me. And I'm sitting down at the dinner table with my husband and my one daughter that's left at home, trying to decide what I'm going to do. And she is 16 years old and she has special needs. And we have talked a lot about what special needs means. And she has a one-on-one aide in a public school, high school. And she said, Mommy, will you work with parents of my friends? And I said, what does that mean? I'm horrible at being a parent for a special needs child. I don't really know what I'm doing. Every day's new. And her response to me was, they really need your help too. Will you just try? And since that time, I have worked with families, parents, individuals that have kids with special needs. I also work with other people, but these are people who I bring a light to that they're struggling, and I'm there to help them. And since that time, my daughter owns who she is even more, and so do I. So not only has the coaching been profound for me, but it's been profound for our family also. I'm here to tell you, if you're considering taking the LPT because you're curious about what coaching is, and if it's the career for you that you imagine it could be, you can work from home and you really touch people's lives and you make a difference and you can make money. Or if you're already, this is your profession, or you know that you want to expand on what you want to do, I would say from my experience and from my husband, who was frankly astonished at the kind of support that I got over the training. And he continually said, what amazing support we get through this program. So when people tell me that it really doesn't matter what coaching program you take, they're all the same, now I have to disagree. It is amazing. So please consider. LPT was wonderful for me. I was in a classroom and there were 3 of us that were there. Everybody else had already signed up for the full coaching program. 3 of us only started with LPT. All of us signed up for the coaching program, the entire package. So I would say, go for it. It's incredible. In the 3rd weekend, we call Mod 3, we have taken, prior to that, we have taken an Energy Leadership Index assessment, which is an assessment tool to really outline where your energy is. And there are two indexes. One is kind of your average resonating energy level, and then the other is what happens to you under stress. And I think that for me, it shows up all the time. In fact, it makes me laugh to recognize when I'm under stress, I actually do what the assessment had told me that I do. And it's profound to know that this is not a fixed assessment. This is not indicating who you are and who you will always be. This is an assessment that gives us the opportunity to take a look at what happens to us and how we react, and we get to choose how we react. And we are so lucky to have a tool like this, to be able to guide us and to have a dialogue. Once we are coaches, I offer this as one before my first session, typically, and sometimes it's after the first session, so that people know we have a whole language around energy and how people are acting, and that it's not a surprise based on their energy leadership index assessment. So when I decided to become a coach for special ed parents, I reached out to a few members in our community. I was coaching, by this point, I had been coaching different people on different issues, and I hadn't been charging. And my goal was to find a parent of a special needs kid to see, is this something that is valuable for this community before I delve into it? So I started working with my first parent of a child with special needs in October of that year. And it is now almost a year later. We continue to work together. And she just had an experience where she went back to school. We did a lot of preparation about going back to school and the transitions. And she called me and had an interaction with somebody, and she defined it at an energy level. She defines herself at an energy level now. And so when she interacts with people, she chooses. And when she doesn't act at the energy level and the positive, caring, compassionate person that she is when she's not under stress, she recognizes it. And we set up a coaching call and she works through it. And then she sent me a text this week to say, "You're right. It shifts as soon as I shift." And as a coach, honestly, there's no greater joy when you have a client that really embodies this shifting of energy, which is what we do in coaching. iPEC is a place that doesn't just teach you about coaching. iPEC is a place that supports the whole person as we go forward and develop who we are. I have started 5 other businesses, so I was not unfamiliar with starting a business. But what I didn't know a lot of things. That's what I realized along the way. And passion to pay off, and the support that we get along the way. What does a business card look like? What do you want it to say? What should your website look like? How, and it's not only the classes, but it's also the additional opportunities to listen in, to hear people's stories. And it's continued. Every Wednesday, we get an energy boost. And sometimes those energy boosts are just a few words. Sometimes it's an actual interview with another coach. Sometimes it's marketing strategies. Sometimes I try and listen or read it religiously every week. And there, it's constant. People are coming out. There are opportunities to interact with other coaches along the way. So what happens at the end is they don't just leave, they didn't just leave me when I was done at my last LPT, at my last Mod 3. They carried me through. They helped me get certified. They taught me how to become an ELIMP. We have Facebook groups. I went on to become an ACC certified coach because I really looked at what people's responses were. So there's support everywhere I went. And I think that when my husband keeps hearing me on different calls, even after my classes are done, and I tell him the value I receive from that, I'm so grateful constantly at the opportunities that I keep getting with iPEC.